So here we go for the second time. You guys don't know this is the second time, but I made this video already once and it took a long time, but you know what happened? I forgot to plug my mic in. What a pain in the butt. But anyhow, this episode I'm going to be talking about how to sell your records as a collector. You're not a dealer and you're not a store. You just have a few records in your collection that you want to sell off or trade off to help get more records for your collection. Now, I talked about this in my last video a little bit. I was worried that by doing this video, it's a very controversial subject because it all depends on geographical areas, who you're trying to sell to, what way you're trying to sell, and how much you're trying to sell them for. So I wrote a script. Before we get started, I would really appreciate it if you guys hit that subscribe button and smash that notification bell so you know when I upload. We try to do videos at least once a week. Sometimes I get hyper and I do 2 videos, but by hitting that bell you'll be notified every time I do one of these videos. Over time you may notice that in your collection it's grown to a point that there's some records that you don't even listen to anymore, but they're in great condition. They're near mint. You know what you paid for them and you would like to get rid of them so that you can get more records that you currently want to listen to. So how do you go about doing that? Well, we have to cover some basics first. We have to understand what the market is and who to sell to. So let's cover right away what a dealer is. So a dealer, first of all, normally they started out as a collector. A lot of them are collectors and they have a passion for the music, a passion for the hobby. So they started out that way, but they found a way to support their own hobby. They hunt for records at yard sales, estate sales, people that are selling off their collection. And the reason they like doing that is so that they can take out what they want for their own collection as a collector and sell off the rest. Some sell online or at record shows, and some even go to local indie record stores in their community and help supply them with records. They have little to none overhead. They have a few things that they have to consider when they're doing their little business, or whatever you want to call it. Dealing is the cost of a table at a record show, the cost of gas for transportation of the records, and their time. They put a lot of time into finding records so that they can provide to you guys. Now, surprisingly, when we talk about stores, a lot of indie stores, like dealers, were collectors or are collectors currently too. However, they don't have the need to go out looking for records or hunting for records. They generally have people come into their store daily or every other day to try to sell off a few records or collections, and they also have contacts with distributors for new records for their store. However, they have a huge overhead of running a business. Some of the things that they have that incorporates into the cost of their records is phone, internet. Sometimes they don't, but it's good to have in their business so they can research their records. Heat, power, and lights. They can get away with not having heat. I have been in record stores that did not have heat, but it makes it extremely uncomfortable for customers in the wintertime. But vinyl doesn't like heat anyhow. And they have taxes for owning a business, and they have rent. They have to pay their landlord for their current location. If they're in a prime location, then it's going to be even higher. Some indie small record stores will close up on big record show days, and they do that because they know where the customers are at the time. They're at the record show. So they will take a bunch of their good records that they think will sell, and they will be at a record show. So not everyone at a record show is necessarily a dealer. You could be buying records from a record store. Now, a collector like myself and you for watching this video, we pay top dollar for our records. So you know what your record is worth that you're going to get rid of because you most likely pay top dollar. You don't really have those connections. You don't buy in bulk. So this is important thing to remember when you're trying to sell a record. So now let's get into how you go about it. You got some records. You got some records that you know that are great. First things first is know what you have. 2, know the condition of the LP that you're trying to sell. Just because you have a Beatles White Album doesn't mean that it's worth top dollar. Does it have all the original material that came with it? And is the jacket and the media really good condition? Those things are important to know to be able to determine the value. I will give you a link down below. You can go to anywhere on the internet. I'm not encouraging you or any way to read my blog. I don't get anything out of it. It's there for information. But I will give you a link down below, and I have a blog that I broke down how I grade my records. It may help you in some way. So I'll click the link below and have a browse, or go on the internet. The most important thing here that I want you to do is do your research so you know how to properly grade your records. Know the market value of your current location. If you're not selling online, you have to know what your records are selling for and your current location. Okay, so that means don't go to eBay and see what people are selling them for or what they have sold them for, because that does nothing for you. My best advice for you would be to go to the record store as you're browsing. I mean, don't purposely go there to find out how much they're selling the records for that you may be selling. Go there next time you're out looking for records and have a look. When you're buying your other records, have a look. Maybe they will have a record that you're going to be selling or offering them, and find out what they are selling it for. If you don't see that record there, ask them and find out. Say, hey, I noticed you don't have this record here. They may come back and say, well, we don't stock it because it doesn't sell much here. Well, that will tell you right away that they're probably not going to be interested in your record. Or maybe they have it in stock. If they have more than one or two in stock, they still may not be interested in your record. So the important part here is to know the market. Find out what they sell them for. That gives you an idea of what they're going to sell it for if they get a hold of your record. I will be covering a little bit on eBay and Discogs. It is a useful thing, but I'm going to cover that in a few minutes. So I'll give you an example of a great band. I had a collection of Mountain with Leslie West, amazing guitarist. I went to my local record store. I'm like, these are really not really in the market that much around here, and I think that these will sell. I managed to convince them to buy them off of me, but he told me right out that these are probably going to stay with him for a while because the demand wasn't there. People weren't asking for it. It doesn't mean that band is not good. It's just the market may not be there at that store, at that location, that geographical area. But I did sell them to them. And 2 months later, I showed back up, and he had a section there of the records that I sold him. So that is a prime example. Just because they're a great band and a great singer and maybe hard to find records, if the market's not there, you may not get as much as that you are hoping for out of those records. Once you have an idea of what your records are going to sell for in your local market, you have to really realistically think about how much you want for your records. Most record stores and even dealers at record shows, they will offer you two things if they're really interested. They'll offer you a cash buyout, or they'll offer you a trade value. Generally the cash is a little bit lower and the trade is a little bit higher. Where I'm currently at, my market isn't all that great. So if I come in with a $20 record, or maybe even a $25 record that I notice it's going to be on his shelf selling for that value, at a record store that is, they generally offer me $5 cash or $8 trade value. And that is because a store has a huge overhead and really doesn't have the money to be able to let it go and sit on that record for a long period of time. Now dealers, they work quite a bit different because they don't have that huge overhead. Like I said before, they do have some overhead, but they need records that are going to move fast. And they really love buying in bulk. It doesn't mean if you bring in 3 or 4 records that they're not going to be interested. A lot of them are record lovers. They will look at what you have. They love it. They will go to thrift stores. They love the thrill of trying to find records. And if you got something, they want to know what it is. Even if you bought from another dealer in that store. I've had or that record show. I've had dealers who were friends of mine say, hey, what did you get from him over there? Dealers before shows will generally go around and trade with each other because they're collectors too. But during the show, they don't have time and they might have missed something. So sometimes I have dealers wanting to know what I bought from other dealers and want to trade up. Now, the important thing here with dealers at record shows to remember is they're not a business, and it's a hard way of trying to feed their hobby. And a lot of it is just a hobby. So don't go up to them within the first hour of the show. They need to make some money. They need to make some money. And if you're just looking for money, you're probably not going to get anything right away. They want to sell some of their records, build a little bit of cash flow, and then come to them in about an hour. And if they're interested in what you got, maybe they'll buy it from you. Most likely they want to trade. Dealers generally give a little bit more. They will give more than what a store will. Like I said, because of the overhead. Within that hour that you're walking around waiting for that moment to go to a certain dealer or a seller, it's a good idea to flip through a lot of the $5 and $10 bins. And the reason why, you want to find out if your record is a common. And if it's a common, it will probably be in that $5 bin. Another important thing when you are trading with a dealer, consider what you are offering versus what you're trying to take. If you're trying to take something that is desirable, hard to find, it was a gem that they found that they're offering for sale and they know that it will sell, they may give you less for what you have to offer. That doesn't mean that they don't want to do the deal. Don't stop it there. They may suggest, if you don't, maybe give the records to them if they're interested in them, and a little bit of incentive. Give them a little bit extra money. Depending on what it is, that will be negotiated between the two of you. If you're polite, generally dealers are really amazing. They will work with you and they will offer a lot more than what a record store will. Now this brings me to online selling. Really, there's only a few things, maybe just one. One big factor that you should consider when online selling is shipping cost. Okay? Shipping costs can kill or make a deal. If the shipping is almost half the price of the value of the record, you're probably not going to sell it. So my rule of thumb, if the record is $25, maybe $20 and under, I don't even try to sell it online. This is the time that you can research. You can go to eBay, you can go to Discogs, but do not go to what they're selling for. The reason being, you don't go to eBay and look at what they're selling for, they haven't sold yet. So that doesn't mean that's the value. There is a tab within eBay that you can click that will tell you previous sales of whatever you're trying to buy. Anything on eBay. So it's a good idea to click that tab, find out what that album sold for before. And the same thing on Discogs. Discogs has at the bottom, underneath, in their little square there, they will tell you what it sold for, low, medium, high. A lot of people make the mistake to say, well, my record is in mint condition, so it's at high value. No, that is the wrong way. That will give you a parameter of what, a ratio of what the records are, people are trying to sell them for, but you want to look at underneath, it says what the last record that you're looking at sold for. That will give you a better idea. So if I were to sell a record online, it would have to be at least $30 in value. $30 and up, I can push the shipping costs, maybe play with the prices and the figures a little bit, but when you get below $20, there's not much play in there to be able to convince your buyers to buy from you. Now, where do you sell? I mentioned Discogs, and I did mention eBay, but eBay, they have a horrible shipping thing going on. Here in Canada, if we're ordering from the United States, it's really, I don't know. I don't understand the shipping. It's really high for some reason. But what I found, when as a customer, I don't buy so much from eBay, but I do buy from Discogs. It's my #1 place that I go. And my number 2 place is Facebook. Believe it or not, there are a lot of Facebook groups out there that buy, sell, trade records. They're all over the world. Here in Ontario, we have one that has over 4,000 people on it, just in Ontario alone, that we buy, sell, trade, and we communicate back and forth, and we barter, and we we get to know who each one of us are and build a relationship that we can trust for shipping things back and forth in the mail. Discogs is the whole entire world. I bought things from Germany, Holland, Spain, United States, even within my own country of Canada. So I can get them all over the place. Those are the 2 places that you may want to consider when you have $30 valued records and up that are in good condition. Like, not good. Good is not good. When you're grading records, good is not good. Okay? They have to be very good, plus, 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 or plus. Like, it has to be very good and near mint or unopened and stuff like that. Is it really worth what you're trying to sell? Then the customer gets it and they're not happy with it. They're like, it's got a scuff on. He said there was some VG plus plus plus. People grade records differently. So it's very risky when you're trying to ship records off to people. Okay? So that does it, folks. If you have anything that I should have mentioned, make a comment below. Let me know how I did and if I missed anything. Finally, the last point that I want to cover on is being good old polite. If you can't come to an agreement with a dealer or a store or whoever you're selling to, it's better off just to walk away. I've gone to record stores that didn't want half of them, and I've gone to another, and that other record store wanted the rest of them. So I hope this video helped who are thinking about selling some of your collection that you no longer listen to help you get more records for your collection. Until next time, people, thank you for watching Golden Funnel Spin. Remember, keep spinning.